The risk has definitely paid off because the prime minister managed to secure the majority that he desperately wanted. And it goes without saying that the left is further weakened. Syriza has basically collapsed at 17%. And right now, New Democracy has literally no opposition. So he has the mandate to proceed with any reforms and a very, very clear, I would say, message to his supporters that his conservative politics has paid off.
Yes, indeed. What sort of mandate do you think this gives him?
The mandate he receives is basically to continue down the same path from the past 4 years, I would say. So basically, New Democracy is going to pursue with a migration policy that has unfolded over the past 4 years. It's going to pursue more investments, especially from European and American corporations. And most importantly, I think that Mitsotakis knows that somehow, this right-wing turn to conservatism is paying off, which means that his rhetoric, his political, again, approach in Greek politics is well liked by a big percentage of the Greek population.
You know, what was quite interesting is that he received such a big mandate and such a big majority, but there was still a very strong performance, even though he's from the centre-right, of other right parties. What does that tell you about where Greek politics is heading?
First of all, I think it's very important to use the right label. We have a neo-Nazi party that made it to the Greek parliament and two far-right parties that have managed basically to create this strong far-right bloc. I think that Mitsotakis is now facing significant, again, pressure further to the right because the growing, again, conservatism in Greece has fueled those, again, sentiments in Greek society. So a far-right bloc with 13% of the vote is something unprecedented in Greece, also in European politics. The return of Golden Dawn is another strong, I would say, indication that Greek voters have kind of like rewarded Golden Dawn for its efforts to return to Greek politics. And Mitsotakis now faces three different, ideologically speaking, of course, far-right parties with one another that will be competing basically against the mainstream conservatism, trying to push things to the extremes with rhetoric. It's certainly uncharted waters here.
Yeah, interesting. You know, there was that terrible tragedy just 10 days or so ago when scores of migrants lost their lives in this overcrowded boat, and there's been the finger pointed at the Greek Coast Guard. Did that play into this runoff election at all?
Not at all. Hundreds of migrants have died in the sea, and the story is not even discussed in Greek politics right now. It didn't really dominate coverage. It was kind of like concealed in a way that didn't really matter in the final weeks of the election. And evidently, the efforts of the Navy were not really sufficient to deal with this tragedy. At the end, evidently, based on the results, the anti-migrant rhetoric has paid off. So people sided with the parties that are definitely anti-migrant and have supported the efforts for pushbacks and for a policy that prohibits people from crossing borders.
Yeah. You know, the Greek economy, though, still faces enormous challenges. There's certainly been huge inroads made. Do you think the Prime Minister is going to be able to get through the reforms he needs?
I think so. He has the majority that he needs. He is willing basically to push this economic growth that he has been pursuing over the past 4 years. It primarily focuses, of course, on investments and lowering taxes. The initiative started in 2019. It was post during the pandemic, but it was unleashed in the last 2 years. He has definitely boosted tourism as well. So the reforms that he's trying to propose here are quite easy to pass with 158 members of the parliament. There is no doubt that there is strong unity in democracy, and Mitsotakis appears to have the mandate. That is the crucial thing here. He has a majority. There is no opposition right now able to kind of like stand against New Democracy's policies, and those reforms will be passed quite easily without significant resistance from the United Bloc in the Greek parliament.
Yeah. And what of the future of Syriza, which has been in power and certainly has lost support? Will they be able to regroup, do you think?
That depends on the leadership's decision. I think that Tsipras is not willing to step down. There are definitely a lot of disagreements within the party. I think that Syriza needs to send a message to its voters. Otherwise, the collapse will continue. Syriza has lost a lot of good members of the parliament that will no longer hold the seats in this session. And Tsipras needs to understand that the loss of those members are clearly going to hurt the rhetoric of the party within the Greek parliament and how they represent this left-wing faction in Greek society. So if the leadership is unable to admit that something has gone wrong here and doesn't propose meaningful changes, I don't see how Syriza can recover immediately from this truly, truly disgraceful result for the left in Greece.
Yeah. Giorgios, appreciate your analysis. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for the invitation. Take care.